Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, America's Cup fans. Oh, you can tell we're live because the dogs in the park are going mental. We always go live and the dogs go mad, but there you go. So is life. It's the end of the never-ending round robin today. We ended round robin 2. We had an eventful day, and we got 2 new guests today to talk us through it. We've got Dylan Fletcher, our helm on the port side, and coach Rob Wilson, who probably gets more TV time than most other people out here in Barcelona. Yeah. The reluctant man who never wanted to do a podcast or go on telly now is on TV in his chase boat the whole time.
It's my natural environment.
Bouncing around in a rib at 40 knots talking to the commentators.
Yeah, exactly.
You do a good job of it. Dils, welcome. We've kept you away from this because it could be seen as media nonsense. I don't think so. I think it's a great way of sharing our journey with the fans. How's your America's Cup gone so far, chap? It's been a pretty full-on prelim, round robin 1, round robin 2.
Yeah, the prelim was quite close to round robin. So my first sort of bite of proper match racing reality and racing alongside Ben and the whole rest of the team. So that was felt like a bit of baptism of fire. And then to go into the round robin, find some more performance, and feels like we've just been building some momentum. So yeah, really, really chuffed.
And how have you found, we've called it the never-ending round robin over here, how have you found every day waking up, resetting, not getting the racing in, waking up, resetting, not getting the racing in, particularly over this weekend of storms?
I guess some of that's quite similar to, Olympic sailing. You never really know. For me, the biggest change is that, every day you go out and every race is a 6-pointer. You either win or lose. It's like it's not like fleet racing where you might have an all right day and it's a top 3 day.
Yeah.
Every race is just win or lose, and every race is at 6 points. So effectively.
Yeah,
so I think it's been, I felt a lot of pressure, but pressure is a privilege at the end of the day.
Hey, nice mate. Should stick that on a t-shirt and wear it that basket. That's a beauty. Robbie, same question for you. Like, it's been a little bit rinse and repeat. We've put the round robin to bed. We'll talk about the day's proceedings in a minute. But it's kind of a bit of a line in the sand moment for the team. That's Johannes, our designer, carried away.
Crazy designers.
Crazy designers.
It's been pretty relentless, but it's the same for all the teams.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to find the gains, find the little details that's going to add that little bit of boat speed in all these different areas. And and we've been exactly the same, and it's just push. It's pretty full on, and you're always trying to balance sort of what you're learning against frying the whole team.
Yeah.
And so that's a full on balancing act, and it's the guys in the shed are working super hard.
Yeah, man.
All the time, and that adds boat speed.
Yeah. The
performance guys, the whole team is just pushing really hard.
Yeah, and it's pushing hard, and it's paid dividend today. If you're having a bet on today, I wouldn't have bet us to come out today as we have, and to update people who might not have caught up with the racing yet. We had our first race against France in light conditions still, and we knew that if we took that point off France, that would eliminate them, sadly, out of the America's Cup, and we've referenced it on this show a lot. It is brutal to be the first team dropped out of this America's Cup, and that point went our way, and that's goodbye for now to the French, right?
Yeah, I think they've had an incredible campaign so far. They got their last boat really to get on the water, and new team for this America's Cup. So I think they did it was a fantastic performance, and they beat Alinghi in the first round robin. And yeah, unfortunately didn't go their way today, but I think they'll be back, and they obviously have a very fast package, and they put together a strong performance.
Yeah, Robbie, anything to add to that as we sadly say goodbye to the French?
I know, it's a shame like this early on in the competition, but like Dylan said, they've come such a long way in a short period of time.
Yeah.
And they've showed moments of brilliance, really good speed, good handling. And I'm sure with more time, they'll be a tough team to beat.
And roughly speaking, would you expect probably half the amount of hours sailing an AC75? Dylan, you're our recon guy. You've kept a good eye on sailing days up till the point that you've got your head down and got racing. Do you reckon half the amount of sailing hours?
I'm not sure about sailing hours. We don't track that because that's notoriously difficult, but they've probably had a third less time on the water than some of the other big teams, and they've maybe been plagued by some boat issues early on. I mean, ultimately everyone has boat issues, and but I think our team has certainly done a fantastic job with the shore team to make that, to keep us like working hard when we're on the water. But for the French, with the amount of time they've had in the water, to be, beating Lingy and having some close races, I think they'll be disappointed. But it was a, good showing.
I mean, and if you want to watch just how good the French are, watch our race at the end of round robin 1 against them. That was a proper heavyweight punch-up, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So from everyone here at INEOS Britannia, absolutely fair play to the French, and they're in a fantastic place to move forwards into AC38 with some really good assets. Second race of the day, us having beaten the French, we needed the Swiss to beat Italy to force a sail-off for the tie for first place. Now, that race didn't start, Robbie. Give us the lowdown there.
Yeah, it was a funny one because, we were like, right, we've got to wait for this race between the Italians and the Swiss. And, if the Swiss managed to beat the Italians, which the Italians have been strong, and so, you're kind of like, the Italians were definitely favourites for that race. But we were like, we had some training, we had some work we had to get on with, for the rest of the Cup. So we were just, in the motion of getting prepared to do that. Yeah. And the Italians got disqualified. And it was basically they had an issue with their boat. Yeah. On the, it sounds like the hydraulic side on the FCS system.
Right, the system that drops and raises the foil arm.
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
okay. So they had an issue with that, and basically, they had to effectively retire from the race. But it's given to you as a disqualified. So suddenly it's like, right, okay, well, we're going in level pegging, and then it's always a sail off if it can be done. Yeah. To break that tie. So suddenly, it's like, right, we're back in.
Suddenly we were into our pre-race routine, setting into a T-90, T-25 for you to have your last input. But before we got to that sail-off, there was one final race of the round robin, which was American Magic versus Emirates Team New Zealand. The Emirates Team New Zealand went on to win in what could be their final bit of two-boat sailing racing, well, should be, until we see them in the match proper. Now, I think it's a moment for us just to acknowledge that Paul Goodison wasn't on American Magic helming today. It's not our position to say anything. The rumours are going round and that he has picked up an injury. And just to say, everyone here at INEOS Britannia, Goody, you're a great mate of all of ours, and we wish you a super speedy recovery. And we know that you're a battler and you'll be back for the semi-finals, mate. So all the best, bud. And New Zealand went on to win that race, as I said. And Robbie, now they are pushed to the sidelines until the match for the 37th America's Cup.
Yeah, it'll be a weird feeling for the Kiwis. They're used to it, but they've got to step back from racing now, and they're spectators until the final. So there's a couple of stages to go. Yeah. So we got the semi-finals. And then the finals of the Challenger Selection Series, and then then whoever wins that obviously goes through to race the Kiwis. So they're on the sidelines for the next couple of weeks, which will be odd.
Yeah, must be a strange place to get your head into. Yeah. Right, and we'll get to our sail-off with the Italians in a minute. But let's wind all the way back from all that chat. That was normally Ian Williams does that bit. It's over in 30 seconds, but there you go. Like you, I'm always going to drag it out, aren't I? Let's go back to our pre-start, Dylan. The first race of the day in light airs. We only just got sailing before this, not much warm-up. Our pre-start against France.
Yeah, so this one we towed up into this one because it was quite light. Starboard entry, their port entry. I think the key thing in these conditions is just trying to work out exactly how we are going to be able to manoeuvre the yacht with the amount of gas around, the dirty wind around. We chose here to go past, thought they came back early for the line, which was correct, and this was a really nice start. It was, to be honest, once we went past, it was quite easy, just time on distance, wind it up, and it was quite easy from there.
Yes, and Robbie, one of the things we've been working on is obviously pre-starts with you and Ian Williams. And we recognised that we needed to get a little bit better at that drag race out to the boundary and really nailing that first tack. And boy, oh boy, you had us doing that in the last week.
Yeah, no,
and it paid dividends here, Louis. If we knock it on to the next clip as we arrive to boundary, we had a nice wind up off the line, and here's the first tack of that race, Robs.
yeah, like it's key for the guy, like for the cyclors to put max power in, and it's after a heavy pre-start. But they got a really nice job here, did a real nice wind up, and it just sets you up for this covering tack here, and the guys nailed this pretty much perfectly. The French put the bow downs, try and break out the dirt, and the guys, you know, they just sort of match that. And from here, you're in a very strong position, and it's difficult for the French from there, as long as the speeds are equal and the boat handling is close.
And Dills, for the remainder of this race, and we've talked about it a lot in the light airs with our previous Inside Tack shows, it breaks down into a conversation between covering, shutting the race course down, versus I mean, you guys were under 5 knots in the middle of this race, right? Going on your middle downwind. I remember there was a few comms about it being ridiculously light. And just playing that game of shifting between sailing our boat, keeping it ripping, versus where are the French and stopping them getting any leverage on us. Was that conversation going on in this race?
Yeah, I mean, there's the minimum wind speed to start the race, but which is 6.5 knots at 5 meters, 10 meters, is it?
Don't ask me.
5 meters, 5.5 meters, 5.5 meters.
As long as someone knows.
There you go. And anyway, so once we've started, that's it. The race goes until you either don't hit the time limit, basically. So yeah, effectively during the race it went below the sort of the wind speed limit you'd start. So there was a lot of keeping the bow in the foils, talking about pressure, but then once it just steps up a little bit more, then it's straight back to full racing and trying to cover them where you can.
Yeah, and Giles talks about it often, but Rob, having done the last America's Cup in the first version of these AEC 75, does it blow your mind seeing us pulling off foiling manoeuvres in under 6 knots of breeze?
Yeah, it's incredible how much the whole fleet, you know, our team and, you know, all the other boats have moved on. You know, we had a few light wind races back in Auckland, and, you know, there was a lot of displacement sailing.
Yeah.
And all these guys are nailing some super light tacks.
Makes you
pretty
wonder,
impressive how it's moved on and where it's going to go next.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. If you go AC38 in a version 3 of this AC75, could be resetting the bar yet again. So that was a race for us, and as we said, that eliminated France. And then with Italy getting disqualified against Alinghi, it set up the sail-off to win the round robins. So the pre-start against Italy in a race where if you win the race, you win the round robin. Here we go. Dills, talk us through it, bud.
Yeah, so this time port entry. Kind of thought with the size of the box, you know, we were sort of worried about getting too caught out to the side, so we did a circle, which you can see there. And then, to be honest, from here, we were sort of thinking about protecting the right side, so we managed to get past them and get that right side off the gun, and it was sort of in a similar position to the French in the first race. So the Italians have certainly been very strong in this light stuff with their high mode, and it's something we've been working hard on with Robbie and the performance team. So it was nice to have to test that out against them today, and it seemed to go all right.
And I've got a question for you, bud. Like I said, we were prepared to go into this sail-off. We didn't expect it to be likely. No disrespect to Alinghi at all. Did you practice your port entry start stuff this morning on your computer games with Ian Williams or not?
We actually didn't start on port this morning. We were doing a few other bits and bobs, and we did our starboard entry practice for our race against the French. But Ian had us doing other things. He's always got a long list of things that we haven't done yet.
Yeah, fair enough. He's cracking the whip, Robbie. Whereas you're seen as like the good teacher, Ian's seen as the naughty guy, isn't he? The bad teacher. And Robbie again wound up off the line well here. Something again we've been drilling this week. And Louis, if we roll into the highlights of the race, it was a case, Robbie, of a little bit more breeze in this race, right? It never really went below 6 knots on the wind instruments on the boat.
Yeah, exactly. I think in hindsight we might have both yachts been able to be on the slightly smaller jibs, the J2s, but the breeze was around sort of 8 to 9.5 knots. Nice conditions, but again really patchy, not the sort of typical conditions we expect for this wind direction. So yeah, it's definitely kept us on our toes.
And Robs, when the commentary team cut over to you for coach cam in the ribs, you were very tight-lipped today. You were kind of chucking out a few no comments here and there, weren't you? I heard.
Only for fun. Like Glenn Ashby was asking a few sort of probing questions.
Good on you, Glenny. Yeah, okay.
Bless him.
Yeah, okay.
So, it's all good fun.
So we went on to take the win, and we got a happy team, which is great. Like all sport, it's about sporting momentum, and to win the round robin against this absolutely world-class opposition is nice for the team. But Robs, it's important to recognise that this is just a very small step forwards into the next event. And what do we get for winning the round robin? What privilege do we get for it?
So for winning this round robin, like you basically get to choose who you race in the semis.
Right.
And that's decided. Well, it can be decided at any point, but you have to announce it on Friday night.
Right.
And then racing starts again on Saturday. So it's nice to have those options.
Yeah, it is nice to have those options. We'll fire over to the questions from people watching. A question here from Richard Murphy, and this is a good one for you, Dills. This morning, did you really think that there would be a race-off for the top spot?
I guess, yes, certainly did think that was an option. Like we've said, it was, I wouldn't have put money on it, that would have happened.
Cornish would have.
Cornish probably would have put money with the right odds, but I think that certainly thought that it could happen. We know Lingy had been very strong, especially in a light, so it was good and happy we got it.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, we've got a returning question person here from Dogzilla, a monster. He's been firing away, and we love you. Keep firing them in. And we'll throw to you here, Dills, again. Onboard systems below deck, how the controls are linked. Are they tunable?
Yeah, so something that's sort of new for this America's Cup is you can have linkages, as it's called, so you can link different things together. So I think all teams have been tuning that hard, and that's what the team is working hard on, as I'm sure all the other teams are, and it's a big thing in this cup.
Yeah, it definitely is a big thing, Robbie, and you're really involved in that as well, working with the performance team, particularly from your side of things, coming from a sail making background, tornado sailing, cutting up sails here and there. That's kind of your bag, isn't it?
Yeah, there's so many gains to be had there, but it really depends on the wind speed as well. So there's so many different options that are always being tweaked and evolving. So it's a big part of it for sure.
Right, next question from Richard Myers, talking about the wide right. Now that, Dylan, that's the position that we took in both our starts today off the line. And the question reads, with wide right good gauge becoming more powerful, allowing the first tack and gassing, which we saw, are we expecting to get back to windward boat, I think, sort of boat squeezers off the bottom, trying to shut down that wide right position moving into the semis?
Yeah, I guess we haven't had that many wide right starts, but like normal match racing, you'd always take a wide right or a tight leeward, which is maybe what you're talking about here. But certainly, if you end up in that leeward position as you're heading towards that first boundary, there's you're trying to squeeze up and get rid of that top boat. I mean, we had one with the Kiwis the other day where we didn't get rid of them, and that was a bit painful for us, which is why I've been working on that high slow.
Do you know, this is a good question from Matt Dresforges. How do you say that? Dresforges. Spotted that Ben has had a mid-regatta shave. Now that's for the eagle eye. Is this not blowing his lifelong don't shave mid-regatta tradition that has earned him all those medals? I mean, for me, it's been the longest round robins of all time. I mean, if he doesn't shave to...
But is that just the round robin, or is it the whole regatta? He'd have a full beard by the end of this one.
Mean,
hopefully.
Absolutely. Hopefully he's got a full beard. I'll tell you the one you need to look out for, and I spotted it in capture, was Macmillan. Macmillan, our pilot on your side of the boat, is getting very hairy.
He's following that tradition.
We call him the hairy ball of fury. So just look out for Macmillan's facial hair is all I'm saying in the next few weeks. Robs, as you said, semi-finals on Saturday. A question I normally throw to Giles. Describe the mood in there and what we have in the next 4 days before we go semi-final racing.
It's positive actually, as you'd imagine. The guys are certainly sort of celebrating the little win, but there's a hell of a long way to go. So, you know, I think everyone's also knuckling down to like, right, what's next? Where are the next gains going to come from? All the teams are going to be doing that. You know, after racing today, actually, you know, we finished that race against the Italians, brilliant, get the win. But we had the sail designers cracking the whip.
Yeah.
You know, they were like, right, we want to have a look at this new sail.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, so we spent half an hour just getting photos and
Yeah.
getting feedback for those guys on you know, what's next. So that's a big part
So
of it.
important, that, isn't it? And I kind of referenced to the guys that I was in the chase boat with, some of the new guys to the America's Cup, is that we won the round robin in Auckland, going through undefeated. And then Prada, through their sail off with American Magic in the last America's Cup, got faster and faster and faster. And by the time we met them in the Cup final, they were faster than us.
Yeah.
So take nothing for granted. Keep your feet on the ground, because this game changes overnight.
Yeah,
So
100%.
we're all very mindful of that. And Dylan, for you, you're enjoying your first America's Cup, right?
Yeah, certainly having a very good time.
Yeah, and I think we've got a nice picture of just how happy you were then, mate.
There you go.
And that is, I think that picture's going around all of our WhatsApp groups for all of our sailing teams and shore teams. Just Dylan having a lovely time, living
So
your
happy
best.
about that.
That is living your best life
Yeah.
right there, mate.
There you go. Look at my chunky cheeks. I'm so chunky.
Mate, what are you talking about?
That's like a weird lens, isn't
That
it?
is a weird
That's
angle.
a bad angle.
No, I think you look handsome, me old
Okay.
boy. Well, lads, thank you so much for joining us. When the dog starts barking like that, we know it's time to wrap up. So join us again on Saturday, which is where things are getting real.
Yeah.
Right, round robin, nice, let's push that to one side. Saturday, it all restarts again. Everyone's effectively on 0 points. So join us again on Saturday evening after semi-final race day 1, where you can join us on the Inside Tack.